I'm Mari Dangerfield, and you're listening to Sound of Stylus, a podcast all about the Stylophone and the people who do cool things with it. This series is sponsored by Musosoup. Musosoup is a platform that seamlessly matches artists and their songs to a curated selection of blogs, playlists, influencers, and radio stations. At the click of a button, artists can opt into a range of free or paid offers pitched directly to them, so they can be sure what they choose is suited to their budget and to them. Thanks to Musosoup, my music has featured on Our Sound Music, York Calling, Sound V System, Mystic Sons, and more. So, if you're looking for coverage for your new or upcoming release, head to musosoup.com or check the description. Leigh Kemp is a mechanic turned multipotentialite, having dabbled in a range of creative endeavours from prop making, graphic design, synth creation and modification, and filmmaking for his own YouTube channel. Most notably, he has worked for none other than the company behind the Stylophone, Dubreq Ltd, since 2019 as a content creator, technical assistant, and more recently, a product tester and developer. Hello, Leigh.
Hello. Thanks
Good
for having me.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Yeah, great to see you, and it's such a pleasure to have you on Sound of Stylus today. I'm so excited to share with everyone what you've been doing with Dubreq so far, and literally everything that you do, because everything you do is absolutely incredibly done, to a T.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I think everyone should hear about it. So let's dive in. I mean, you're clearly the kind of person who's always bursting with creative ideas. Having known you for quite some years now, I'm very much aware of that. You've had a very exciting few years at Dubreq so far. But before we get into that, the question I ask every guest on this podcast: how did you first come across the Stylophone, and what made you fall in love with it?
Okay. Let's think back now. Okay, so in 2004, I started to get into electronic music, and I was obsessed with synthesizers at the time. And then finally, in 2006, I had a bit of money to be able to afford my own. So I used to spend every day after college looking through eBay, trying to find something that was within budget. And then, I think early 2007, the S1 started to appear in eBay listings, and it cost like £17. So I was like, oh, I'll give that a try. So yeah, I got one and had a little play, and then I think I probably put it away for a little while, and then I got it out again for some reason, and learnt a few songs on it.
With the tabs, or just
with tabs? Yeah, I found some tabs on a forum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was the 2007 S1 that we're talking about, that you first discovered.
Yeah. I learned a bit about the history when I found out about it, but I didn't bother getting an original one until a few years later. But I like the sound of the S1 when I got it. It's, sounds like a little video game machine, doesn't it? 8-bit.
So you were like searching for like entry level synths on eBay? I was just
trying to find anything I could afford. I wanted a synth so bad, so and it just popped up. I was like, oh, that's not too expensive.
And you were like
17?
A teenager at this point?
Yeah, probably 16, 17 in 2006, 7, something like that.
What was that kind of initial reaction then when you finally had it in your hands?
I thought it was super fun because the metal keyboard in it. It's got your little pen. You can slide up and down on it. It's battery operated, so I loved it. Just sit in bed and fiddle around with it. So then I probably put it away for a little while before then discovering it again at a later date and then becoming obsessed.
So your journey was more of like a discovery and rediscovery phase as you kind of got to know the ins and outs of electronic music making, I guess, and then realised its potential over time? Is that what you would say?
I think I probably played it, and then, as I say, I learned a few songs, and then probably just thought, okay, I've had enough of that for a while, and then I think I probably got a synth eventually after that. So then I was doing a bit of recording with that instead. And then I don't know why I came back to it. I think it just popped up somewhere on the internet. I think, oh yeah, I've got one of these. I should dig it out again and run it through some effects in the DAW, innit? Also, in 2019, the original Beat came out. So it might have been because of that. I saw the Beat listed and I thought, oh, I'll get one of those to go with my Stylophone. And then I probably got the Stylophone back out and had a little fiddle with that.
Right.
So I think that's probably it.
Original the Beatbox, wasn't it? It was called Beatbox back then.
The original Beatbox.
I still call it the Beatbox now. I'm still struggling to adapt to the name change.
Yeah, it sort of is, isn't it? But yeah.
You say that you had the S1, the Beatbox. It seemed to have gone on and on from there, because it's safe to say that you probably have one of the biggest Stylophone collections probably in the world. Mm-hmm. Which is your favourite product ever, and why?
It's probably going to be a boring answer, is what everyone says, isn't it? It's the 350S is my favourite.
Yeah?
Yeah, it just looks cool, it sounds cool. Yeah, it's got loads of features on it. You can change the settings, you know. It's got the little light sensor on it. It's got a bit of everything. I love that thing.
Same here. And you're not the only guest who has said that that's their favourite, so maybe we need to start a little petition for Dubreq to do a little relaunch of some kind.
Yeah, it'd be nice to relaunch it. Problem is, it'd be quite expensive, I think, to manufacture.
Right.
So it's quite a niche product, you know. Obviously, they would sell some, but would it be worth the development costs? So I don't know.
Right. That's the way that you're thinking as a sort of member of the team, which is really interesting. Like, you will think about more kind of, is it worth spending the money on those components, on that development process for like the actual market? Is there the demand in the market for that kind of thing? That's the kind of thing that you would be thinking about, isn't it?
The electronics would be cheap enough, but the case alone would cost, you know, tens of thousands to make all of the tooling and stuff for the injection molding. So yeah, it's probably not going to be worth pursuing, unfortunately. But that's my favourite one. I'm
going to cry in the corner for a little second. Yeah. And then we can move on. The Stylophone product range does seem to get more popular every single year on year. What do you feel personally is the secret behind its success?
Retro's been big again, hasn't it? People like retro stuff. It looks retro, and I guess social media, plays a big part in that, you know.
The nostalgia factor.
There's plenty of videos on there of people playing it, playing little tunes on it, playing people's favourite video game theme tunes, and yeah. So probably the looks, it sounds completely different to anything else. And it's everywhere in it, you know, it pops up.
It sure does these days. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's probably it. It's been growing. It's a growing market, which is nice.
Sure is.
That's got to be some of the factors. I don't know fully why people are interested, but that's why I would be.
No, it's cool that you mentioned, the definite like nostalgia factor, nostalgia market, and that sort of over 40s, over 50s category of people that had one in the attic at home, and they've sort of rediscovered it. A bit like you kept rediscovering yours. And then the kind of video gamey kind of people as well.
Well, maybe the parents did mention it to their kids, like, oh, I had one of those back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, everyone did. You know, it was huge back in the day. Surprising how many musicians started off fiddling around with a Stylophone. For quite a few stories.
Absolutely.
It's pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's probably a combination of all these things. But yeah, it's definitely growing, especially now it's in the Japanese market as well. They love anything cute and retro and that kind of
you've
stuff.
just opened up to the Japanese market?
Well, it's been in the Japanese market for, I don't know, probably 6 months, I think.
Okay. So I didn't realise, so it was never sold in Japan until 6 months ago?
Not officially, I don't think it was. No, it's definitely been...
So is that why the Hatsune Miku Jeep was sold there?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I wonder what's going to happen to that then.
I don't know.
You have one of those, of course.
I do, and it's super fun. I mean, it doesn't sound like a Stylophone, so it's probably not going to affect sales much, is it? I love it. It's great.
Not.
It's definitely unique. Isn't it? Why not? That's not doing any harm.
So, working for Dubreq. You are, for a fact, the first freelance employee hired by Dubreq Ltd. Since they were taken over by husband and wife CEOs John Simpson and Marcella Kavanagh. Talk us through your career to date and what led you to their roster.
Well, I can start with how I got involved. I know that story.
Okay, go ahead.
So in 2018, I was doing social media for the music technology website, Sonic State. And I think John, the CEO, posted the pre-order link for the Gen X1, and no one else bothered to document it. And Sonic State was the only media outlet to post a link to the pre-order page. And
right, that was you.
Yeah, it was me, and I think I posted the same link on my personal social media account, like exactly the same, word for word.
Okay.
And I think John clicked my profile as well, and I think I had in the bio that I was working for Sonic State at the time. So he got in touch and said if I fancied playing with the Gen X1, just testing it out and giving some feedback. So and then he sent me one over.
So before it had been released?
Yeah, they sent me it before it was released. I gave a bit of feedback.
That's so cool. So they literally just found you from Sonic State, thought you'd be the kind of person who'd know how to have a little jam on it and give some feedback on like all the features and stuff.
Yeah, I think they were happy that someone was interested in posting it. So I think they showed it off at NAMM earlier in the year, and I think obviously a few of the websites posted about it then, but no one bothered to post, that it's now available to pre-order and stuff. I think it was a few days before anyone else bothered to post anything. So yeah.
So they saw your enthusiasm for the product, and your knowledge as well, and they thought potential future employee on our hands.
Yeah, maybe they sent one over. I had to play with it, and then made some of my own content, and and then the year after, in 2019, I was asked to do their social media as well for a bit.
Right.
And then I did that until October, and then at Synthfest, I was asked to do the technical support for the Gen R8, which had just been announced.
So what does that involve then?
That was looking after the email technical support, the firmware development, because there was quite a few bugs when it was initially released. So it was just dealing with the customers and sending them software updates and that kind of stuff. And I carried on making some social media content, but then they hired someone else to take over the role. So
then the team was starting to build a little bit.
Yeah. And we've got quite a large team now. It was pretty nice.
How many people?
It was about 10, 11.
Getting big then.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of freelance people doing electronic stuff, but I think the core team in the office is like 5 or 6. So yeah, it's been growing. The whole company's been growing. It's very nice.
Very cool. And so then, like after the Gen R8, what was your next kind of step in the company?
I spent at the end of 2019, early 2020, which was the lockdown, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, about March 2020 was the lockdown.
Yeah, so I spent most of that time doing the tech support firmware updates.
So you had to like take people's Gen R8s, load them onto like some software, or?
Well, we sent them some links for them to do it themselves, but a few of them failed to update, so I had to do that myself. They sent it over and then I sent it back.
And you had like some equipment for that, right? They gave you some equipment.
Yeah, they got me the programming, the little programmer thing and software.
Very
cool.
Very
nice. Yeah. So yeah, I spent most of 2020 doing that, and then John sent me the details for the S1 reissue. I think he sent me a little demo video, and then I got sent a 3D printed prototype that I did some testing with. Yeah, and I was just receiving multiple prototypes throughout the rest of the year, and then it went into production, and then I just carried on doing technical support just on the entire range of Stylophone products for the rest of the year. And then into 2021 as well, just making social media content.
So you're back on social media?
Yeah, I was just making the content. I wasn't actually having to do the posting anymore.
Right.
I did it at the start.
So you continue to be kind of that technical assistant, but also a little bit of product testing, a little bit of product development as well, more recently.
Yeah,
right?
That's definitely recently, yeah. I mean,
which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah. The other prototypes, I was just giving some feedback. They were already well in development. I was just saying, the build quality is nice. The color's nice. It sounds good. That kind of feedback. It wasn't anything more complex.
Too in depth.
Late 21, late 22, John got a contract with a well-known synthesizer design outlet for 3 new products.
Okay.
And then one of those was the Beat, which we started work on in 2022.
Very good, very good. At the time of the recording, the Beat is a brand new release from Dubreq, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it took ages to come out. So yeah, it took a lot of work.
We'll be talking a bit more about your involvement in that very, very soon.
Cool.
So, we've talked a little bit about where you found the Stylophone and how you got into electronics and then how you ended up at Dubreq. But where did your sort of knowledge for synthesizers and everything, where did you develop that from? Because you didn't go to any college, you didn't go to uni, you didn't have any formal education in the subject. So where did you educate yourself?
The internet. The joys of the internet. I became super obsessed with synths, and I used to read Sonic State religiously. They used to have the synthesizer section where you could choose one of the synths and then it would tell you all about it, so I'd read every single one.
And was that before you joined them?
Yeah, this was when I was still at school. I was still reading up on that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
There was a few. There was Sonic State, and then there's another synthesizer website as well where you can actually hear demos of each instrument, and they've got a huge catalogue going back to the 60s, 70s,
right,
all the way up to the modern day, so you can listen to the presets and find out all the specs. So I used to be really nerdy and read all these.
Very good, very good.
And then in terms of the electronics stuff, I think when I was looking for tabs for the Stylophone, I came across people that were modifying them.
Right.
And doing circuit bending, which is where you modify the original circuit and connect, sections of the circuit that are not meant to be connected, and it creates random, interesting results. Usually horrible sounding, but sometimes you hit the sweet spot and it actually makes something usable. So I found that, and then I modified my Stylophone.
Right.
And then I started doing more research on circuit bending, and I found that you could make oscillator circuits and filter circuits. And you could build, little homemade noise machines.
Right.
So then I just obsessively started researching that kind of stuff and started making lots of random little toys that made horrible noises.
Very cool.
But it's all self-taught. You can learn anything from the internet.
That's amazing.
If you give it the right question, you can learn anything. The circuits that I found, the oscillator and the filter circuits, they were on a website called Music from Outer Space, which was run by Ray Wilson. And this website is fantastic. It's still up now if you want to look at it. There's loads of synthesizer schematics and lots of pages about various individual components. You can really do your research on there.
Is Ray
he
Wilson?
sadly died a few years ago, which was quite sad. Yeah. Luckily, I don't know who runs it. I think there's a synthesizer manufacturer that's taken over the website. And they're manufacturing circuit boards that you can buy, and the front panels and things.
So for like starting your own projects, you can buy pre-made.
Yeah, he used to sell the plans that you could print out and make the metal panels, and I think he did sell them as well at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But now someone else has taken over, so they're keeping the website alive and his memory alive. But he's a lovely guy.
Yeah. Who is Ray Wilson, for those of us that are not familiar?
I think Ray Wilson was a teacher, I think. I don't think he was like an electronics engineer. I think he was a teacher who had a passion for electronics. So that used to be his hobby. And then I think he just started designing little noisemakers and stuff and posting them on his blog. And then it became a business for him, I think, in the end. It became huge. I mean, everyone who makes synths, they know who Ray Wilson is. I certainly know Look Mum No Computer knows who Ray Wilson is as well.
Oh, definitely. I would imagine.
So I think he got started in the same sort of way, reading his website. Because, it's super, super detailed and super nerdy if you want to get into electronics.
There you go. Hot tip from Leigh Kemp if you want to get into that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a fantastic website. Obviously, there's other places as well you can find stuff like Reddit and a lot of the other musical forums. They've got schematics and stuff. You can find it everywhere. But yeah, Music from Outer Space, they give you everything. Schematic, PCB layout, component list. If you're just getting started, that's the place to go.
That's so cool. So your obsession actually kind of spiraled out of the Stylophone then. From that initial discovery, you kind of went into a rabbit hole from there to learn about electronics in more depth. Yeah,
I've never been really interested in electronics before that. I mean, I made a little flashing light circuit in design and technology in school. That was fun. That's where I learned how to solder, but I really had no interest after that. I was more into my cars and mechanical stuff.
Would you say that, because you are a trained mechanic, would you say your mechanics knowledge had some kind of transfer to the electronics a little bit?
Not the mechanical side, but obviously cars have electronics inside of them. You have to repair, so I get to do soldering, in that world as well. But there's not really much circuit design in automotive industry, not unless you're actually designing the cars and the stuff to go in it.
Leigh Kemp Automotives.
Yeah.
On the way soon.
So there's not a direct connection, but I guess some of the skills are, you can share some of the skills between the two.
There is a bit of transfer then.
Yeah, there is a bit of crossover, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, what is your absolute favourite thing about working for Dubreq?
Well, there's a fantastic team, and even though they've been releasing products for about 5 or 6 years, it's still in its early stages. So it's really nice to be in there at the start, when I can get to know the products while they're being developed, get to have input on the products. It's just a nice place to be. Everything's so relaxed. John and Marcella are really nice. I'm given everything I need to do my work. There's never any issue. Yeah, it's just a fun place, great team, and there's lots of really cool products that are in the works. So I think that's my favourite. That's my favourite thing.
It's basically everything.
Basically everything, yeah. No, it's a cool place. Very cool place to work.
You say place, you don't actually work at their headquarters in Hastings.
I work from home. Which you can see is my very messy studio, workshop, and bedroom all mixed into one.
Love it. I mean, what creative doesn't have kind of their own personal space completely taken over by whatever they're working on?
Absolutely. If your workspace isn't messy and, untidy, then, you're not really doing anything interesting, are you?
You make many videos for the Stylophone social media outlets. And have you found your groove when it comes to recording, mixing, or playing Stylophone?
I like to keep it simple when I'm doing my content.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm recording, I don't like to do any editing to the instruments. I like to keep everything raw and, just as everyone else would listen to it if they have the product. So mostly it's just a lot of layering, keeping everything raw, making sure everything's played well.
So when you say raw, is it like you don't add any effects to the
So,
Stylophone
sometimes I think a bit of reverb is probably the most I would add, and it would be
Mm-hmm.
just to give it a bit of presence, and a bit of space. But the Stylophones are directly plugged into the DAW. There's no EQ on them to remove any noise or any harsh sounds or any of the popping.
Okay, that's interesting.
When the pen lifts up, I don't remove any of that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's nice that someone can buy it and then they get exactly the same sound that they've heard on social media, innit?
Yeah, that makes sense now that you mention it.
A
Yeah.
lot of people heavily EQ it, and someone will get in and say, oh, the Genix one, my Genix one's not that bassy. Doesn't sound anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or my S1's really harsh, why does yours sound so soft?
So are you working from the point of view of like someone because they're looking to buy the product, you want to keep the sound authentic to that? Is that the only reason you do that? Or would you do that even if it's on your Leigh Kemp YouTube channel?
Oh, I do it everywhere on my YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
I like the raw sound of the instrument. There's no need to hide it, they're fun little toys, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I like the raw sound. I like the noises that they make, the popping, and if you do a good job at playing and the recording is nice and clear, it sounds good anyway. Even if it's got stylus noise and a bit of hiss on it, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Especially when you layer multiple stylophones up,
Mm-hmm.
then those sort of noises just get hidden and drowned out in the background, so you don't hear them anyway.
So you don't get like phasing or anything when you're...
No, sometimes a bit of phasing's good, especially when you're recording the Genix one. If you're doing basses and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
if you record the same thing twice and then just move the audio slightly on your timeline so they're not lined up perfectly, then you get a really fat bass sound then.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of phasing in and out, and then sometimes they're not phasing, It just beefs it up. So yeah, lots of layering and making sure each sound is different that you're layering. You don't want to layer the same sound over and over again.
So you wouldn't like multi-track more than one type of part,
so you
except for bass lines?
Yeah, except for the bass lines, yeah, just because it sounds nice when you put two together that are not quite lined up properly. But in the S1, you could just layer in the octaves. Sounds nice, I think that's what I would do. I wouldn't keep it on the same octave and play it multiple times because it doesn't sound very good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, lots of layering, not editing the stylophone. I think that's my little tips.
So you're more focused on like a good performance in the first place?
Yeah, I like everything to be in time and properly tuned.
Do you, when you're doing your videos, because I know you did this for your Leigh Kemp channel, do you practice the whole thing through and then just record it once all the way through?
Sometimes if it's not a particularly long piece, but usually I'll just break it into sections. I'll do the verse bass and I'll play it all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe there's a bit where one of the notes is a bit early, so I'll tweak it so that the timing's a bit tighter, But I like to leave it live. I like to play everything. So yeah, I like to rehearse quite a bit, yeah, and then just play it in as one piece.
So on the whole, unless you absolutely have to, you won't tweak anything in terms of...
Nope.
Okay. very good.
No, I don't know. It means it can sound a bit static if you just record individual notes and line them up on a grid. And
so you like to have that kind of live feel to it when you're doing the recording?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you practice enough, you can get really tight with your transitions and your slides, so it doesn't really need any editing. So
very interesting.
Yeah, I like to keep it raw.
And then when you're like mixing it, what do you do in that stage?
Oh, it's the same thing really. I just mix to get the levels right, and then there's nothing else, There's no panning or anything. I like to keep it just as it is. There's no compression on anything, no EQ. It's completely raw.
Wow, so it's super simple. That is super simple then.
Yep. I don't really like doing too much panning, especially for the social media stuff, because there's a lot of mobile phones that are just sort of one speaker. They sort of mix everything down to mono.
So you're thinking about the TikToks at that point.
Yeah, I always listen back on my phone when I'm mixing. I do a mix through the speaker and I go, okay, that sounds all right. So people listening on a computer would like it, and then if I listen on my phone and go, oh god, that one's a bit, because obviously there's not a lot of bass on the phone, so you're going to hear all of the high frequencies. So sometimes the S1 is a bit loud in the mix if I listen back on a phone.
Right.
That's where people are going to be consuming it, so it needs to sound good.
Very smart.
If you're doing a vid for social media and it sounds awful, then it's not good, is it?
And you'll get sacked from Dubreq. Yeah. Joking.
Well, a lot of the stuff on there is raw anyway, innit? People don't really care much on social media. A lot of the filming's shaky, and people just record it using their phone mics. You hear all the stylus being tapped on the keyboard and stuff. So
that's actually interesting. It's surprising to me how many people out there, particularly TikTok and YouTube as well, make stylophone videos with like a phone camera or just a laptop or something super basic, using the speaker from their device, playing it just like on their desk, doing some like tabs or just playing a tune or something.
Yeah.
And it completely blows up. Like it's really, it's, I don't get it, but it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. I suppose that's kind of how the everyday person would be playing it, so it draws people to them, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the tune as well, doesn't it? I mean, the Let's Go tune is always a favourite.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And it always seems to do well.
Have you seen Stylophone though on TikTok, for example?
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, so Stylophone is one of those that they put the stylophone on the table, play do 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 or whatever. And that's it. It's like 10 seconds long.
Through the microphone.
And it's got thousands of views. They might even have more than 1 million people following them now.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. I'll check that out. Yeah. Perhaps it's someone we need to contact. Maybe we already have, but I'll check. Yeah.
I think they might be based in India.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah, that's cool. See, it goes all over the world, the Stylophone, which is nice, isn't it?
It sure does.
Oh, brilliant.
So what's a typical day for you then, when you're working from home for Dubreq?
I start the day by going through the inbox. There's usually some technical support emails that have come in. So I'll reply to those and sort all that kind of stuff out. And then there's usually some emails from John as well, and emails from the business software that we use to manage all of the projects. So there's usually a few comments in there that I need to look at or read. And then I usually make videos. There's usually a list of social media content that I have to make for the week. So I just start on that. I spend all day doing that usually.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. It's more time consuming than people think.
Oh, it sure is.
That's because they're used to people just having a little fiddle on it, on their mobile phone in it, and then posting it. Whereas if you want a properly produced thing, it takes a long time to put it together. It does for me anyway. So maybe I'm just slow.
Oh no, it takes me very, very long as well. I'm sure it takes everyone ages. If you had to give just one top tip when it comes to any of the Stylophone product range, what would it be?
Keeping it clean. I think that's an obvious one. Keeping the pen and the keyboard clean.
And how would you do that?
You can use an alcohol wipe, a bit of hand sanitizer that probably everyone's still got left over.
Oh yeah.
A bit of metal polish, anything like that. Just keep everything clean, otherwise it can sound really awful. I see plenty of videos where the sound's crackly and they think that's how the Stylophone sounds. Like, no man, just keep it quick clean.
And check the batteries as well. Is that another one?
Yeah, the S1 doesn't really use the batteries that much, but the Gen X one definitely. If the batteries are a bit low, the tuning starts to become an issue. And yeah, it can make some really odd sounds. Yeah, it sort of sounds like it's faulty, but all you need to do is put some fresh batteries in.
How many returns have you had of Stylophones of people saying that it's broken, but it was because of...
Oh, there's always loads. I mean, you said about the largest the largest Stylophone collection. You said earlier on in a question. That's only because I've got like a box of S1 and Gen X1 returns. There's like over 100 in that box, and they probably all work. People are a bit too aggressive and break the pen off, and then send it back in. So they're always fine. The pen cable splits on the Gen X1, so people send that back, but the actual unit's functioning properly. And then there's people that just get it and are just bored and then just send it back for a refund, which is quite cheeky.
Oh my lord.
But they're always usually in mint condition, you know, and usually fully working. There's not usually many that are properly broken.
So what would you say to those people before they're thinking about sending it back?
Fresh batteries and making sure it's clean. That's the only tips I can give, really. If it's still malfunctioning, then you can get in touch with the support team.
Very good.
There's not much that goes wrong with them, to be honest. They're quite reliable.
Definitely.
Which is good.
Unless you throw them against a wall like Moro in his videos.
He throws them against the wall, does he? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, they're super reliable. I mean, I've done a few videos for social media about cleaning your Stylophone. I made like a little tips video, and I put big beans on the keyboard of one of my Stylophones, which I washed off in... I also filmed a scene for that where I washed it in soapy water as well at the start of that video. And that Stylophone's working fine. I mean, I've dunked it. It's been underwater, fully submerged. It's had beans on it.
Oh. And it still works?
It still works, yeah.
Okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it can survive even a 40-foot drop from a tall building. Don't try that at home.
Yeah. I don't know, I should probably submerge it more often, just see how much it could actually take. Might be a fun video. It might sound funny if you play it underwater and it starts bubbling up and making weird fart noises and stuff. It could be fun.
You don't want to encourage that though, do you? You don't want Dubreq to be sued for someone like...
That's the problem, innit? Most people know not to dunk their Stylophone or any electronics underwater, but you do get a few people that do it and then expect a replacement. So, yeah. So yeah, best not to.
Tune in next week for part 2 of Leigh Kemp's episode. If you're enjoying this episode so far, it would mean the world if you could give the podcast a 5-star rating and share the episode on social media, tagging me at Mari Dangerfield and the podcast at Sound of Stylus. You can find us on Instagram at Sound of Stylus and on YouTube by searching Sound of Stylus.